Good morning, everyone. It's 7 a.m., November 28th, 2018. We'll call this meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council Committee of the Whole order. Roll call, please.
Fish.
Yes.
Rachel is absent. Rupert.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
Arneson.
Here.
Speedo is absent. Hicks.
Here.
Pepper.
Here. We have a quorum. First item on the agenda is a discussion item relating to the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center Memorandum of Agreement Extension, and I'll call on our City Administrator, Andrew Brunson.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Your Honor, members of the committee. This is a rather straightforward and simple request on behalf of the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. As some of you may know, we own the building out there and the land that it sits on because it was a part of a state bonding project several years ago. And as a result, we have a contract with the Prairie Wetlands to lease those facilities. And we are at a point where the lease that we have in place is expiring, and they just got a new director out there who wanted to get his feet on the ground and have some time to be able to get comfortable with the position, dig in before he has to start going through a new lease agreement. The previous director was starting that as he retired. So what they're asking to do is just have this memorandum of agreement extended for another year till the end of 2019. And then throughout the year of 2019, in fact, right after the first of the year, they're going to start work on that new extension or that new contract. And it will come back before the city council then in 2019 to be effective for a longer term. In conversations with the Prairie Wetlands and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, it sounds like a lot of the same things will end up in that new contract. It'll be very similar, but certain provisions based on new federal guidelines and whatnot will have to be inserted into that contract, and their contracting department will be the one that really pushes that thing forward. So today we're just looking to push this to the council to extend and execute this memorandum of agreement with the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center to the end of 2019 with the intention of the council acting on a new agreement before that date comes.
Any questions from the council?
I would offer that.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Brent. All in favor of that motion, bring that to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Consent, I believe.
Consent would be great.
Thank you, Jim. Next item on the agenda is a request that came from our last city council meeting at the open forum session to amend the city code 6.26 C-1, the number of dogs and cats allowed. And Andrew, did you want to kick off this conversation? Is there any staff that wants to give direction on this, or is this just council discussion?
Yeah, we're looking for direction from the council today or going forward. The code as it exists today is a maximum of 4, and you can't have more than 3 of a cat, 3 cats or 3 dogs. And the request before us, as the mayor mentioned, was to increase that limit so the individual in question could have more pets in their home.
Your Honor, I would make the comment that to some extent I appreciate the desire to want more kind of animals, but I think it's kind of one of those scenarios where if it isn't broke, don't fix it. The ordinance seems to have worked for a long time, and four animals seems a reasonable number, and and I would offer the motion that we keep the ordinance as it is, based on the fact that if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Any other, so we have a motion to keep it as it is, to direct it to the council with no action requested, I guess would be the motion, right?
Yeah. I'll second that motion, but I do have a question. Kyle maybe can help with this. How many calls do we get for animal control or whatever type calls?
I could help you. For this type of a scenario, for exceeding the number of animals, not that many. We've had a couple of incidents this year with numerous cats at local residences, but it's really not that big of a problem. What we see more often is just lack of knowledge of the code for the licensing requirement. So.
I have a question. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
So relating to that, so when you say like cats, what's the complaint? I'm just trying to figure in my mind, like, I understand like a bunch of dogs is probably different than several cats, I think, if they're inside, or what happens when you get a call on cats?
The issue usually is they're feral cats, and there's just,
They're outside.
wild, yeah.
They're wild
just-
and running around.
Yeah.
Which is against, yeah.
Yeah, even cats are supposed to be leashed
Right.
or under control.
I guess, sorry, I guess I would, ask why not? What harm would it do if we were to allow people to have a few more animals? I think you made a good point that not to be, breedist, but, dogs, I could see having a whole bunch of dogs being more of an issue than having, more cats. And also I think the people that are gonna have, 20 cats are probably the people that aren't gonna care what the ordinance says. They're just gonna do whatever they wanna do anyway. And so, I mean, this individual that came before us obviously cares about, the rules and ordinances and wants to stay within that. And, I don't know how you pick a number, but I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to a responsible owner having more pets if they so desire, but what is that number, and how do we go about determining that would be my question. Or is there a convincing reason not to do it, not to allow it?
Thanks, Tom. Jim, do you have a comment?
Well, this whole thing started with a email to me, and I gave the lady in the email the information to be before the council. I wasn't here that night, so the whole thing started with me, and it appears that she has 3 dogs and she wants a 4th one. Now, it's 4 animals, but we say no more than 3 dogs, so you can have 3 dogs and 1 cat?
Yes, correct.
Is that the way that
Yep,
works?
or vice versa.
Or 3 cats and 1 dog?
Right.
So, but only 4 animals, it isn't all cats or all dogs?
Right.
Just a follow-up question on that then. So she doesn't have any cats, she just has dogs?
She just has dogs, that's the way it sounded in the email that I got from her, yes.
Members, in her, when she handed out to the council at the last meeting, it says they are at the city allowed limit of 2 cats and 2 dogs. So I think they do have 2 of each.
Yeah, I think that's what it
That's what she
says.
presented.
Okay, so, a couple comments on here, go ahead, Brent.
No, currently I'd like to leave it the way it is, but in certain cases, I wouldn't mind a case-by-case instance where we give somebody a variance with conditions, and in that way there, if they violate those conditions, then we can repeal it, and they're gonna have to remove one of the animals. I mean, this way here, like he said, if you get a responsible owner who keeps his dogs under control, keeps them thing, and they come in and ask for a variance, but then all of a sudden they got dogs out there barkings, then we can actually, it comes with conditions that it can be repealed. I would say on a case-by-case basis would be the way that I'd allow it.
Sure. Back to a point that, Guy, you were making, and I think to Tom's point, is like these feral cats, for example, they're against the ordinance anyway, regardless of how many, because they're outside, they're unleashed, they're not within the existing code anyway.
Right,
correct?
and nobody owns them.
Right.
They're just wild cats. Yeah.
Sure. So I would assume you get very few calls from cats that are owned and, right?
Just one that I can think of this summer on the west side of town where there was 17 in the home. Yeah. They were owned, they were in the house, yeah.
And if I'm, how did that come to your attention?
Complaint by a neighbor,
Okay,
yeah.
just called and said this person has a house full of cats.
Well, there's usually other issues going on, I suppose, like with smell or, I would, going back to Darren's question too, probably where we get involved with it is, like if you have barking dogs or if you have some type of, we go on a welfare check and the person in the home is unable to care for the animals and there's just too many animals in the home and just the general welfare of the home is
Justin, did you have a comment? All right, I didn't see if you had a hand up.
I guess I'm split on this one. I totally appreciate what Mr. Hicks said. I think if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. But on the other hand, I agree with Tom. If we can set, I don't know what the perfect number is, but you'd hate to take somebody's ability away to have some cats and dogs in their house if they're responsible. But we also don't want to incur people to have too many be irresponsible and be an issue for the city. So I'm kind of I could go either way on this one.
Sure, you go both ways.
I am more concerned about, well, I'm more concerned about the dogs than I am the cats, probably, just because they're could be more of a nuisance if they're not controlled, but.
Jim?
This lady's trying to be legal, how many people in town are not. You know, if she wants another dog, she can get another dog. I mean, as long as she takes care of them and they're not barking or anything, nobody's gonna know. But she's trying to stay legal on the whole thing.
I think I brought up the point the other night about maybe we take off the second half of that thing and just leave it at 3 and 3, not limit it to 4. That might be a thought too.
3 and 3, which makes 6. And there is a motion, so we'll make, I think the direction we're going is probably to bring this to the council and have a discussion and come up with a number and vote it up or down, right? But there is a motion on the floor right now that we'll vote on. But Tom, go ahead.
For clarity, how does the ordinance read now?
The ordinance reads that you can have, you can keep more than 3 dogs or 3 cats, or more than a combination of 4 dogs and cats in the dwelling. So basically, you can have 3 cats and 1 dog, or you can have 3 dogs and 1 cat, but you can't have more than 4 animals. So it's basically 2 and 2, you know, 1 and 3, 3 and 1.
But I think, yeah, I really like what Darren just said. If you take out the last 6 words of that sentence or whatever it is, it's 3 and 3, and that makes the number
That's
6.
kind of what I was thinking about the other night.
All right. So, but.
Motion is
The motion is right now to just to recommend to the council, no change. And so the council ultimately, we just discuss this on Monday night, come up with a number and vote on it, right?
Right.
I think no one's, so adamant that we're gonna fight about this one. We're just.
You wait.
All right, so motion is to bring to the council a recommendation of no change. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That motion goes to the
And
council.
and not on the consent, let's have a discussion on that one.
Not on the consent. All right, thanks, everyone. Good discussion. All right, next item is a Pebble Lake Golf Course agreement, and our city administrator and our city finance director, Bill Summer, are going to take this one.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Members, I'll kick it off and I'll let Bill just fill in where I miss. We've been working for several months with the Pebble Lake Golf Club on extending their lease. Their lease that is existing today expires at the end of the year, like the previous one, and we're looking at doing a 5-year term, which is a little shorter term than we have done in the past, but should be sufficient life of operation for the term of the agreement. The proposed lease in front of you would go in effect on January 1, would expire December 31st, 2023. As you review the lease, you'll notice that we've worked real hard with the city attorney to simplify the terms of the agreement. I think we've cut it by more than half in length, just so it's an easier document to work with. And there aren't very many substantial changes within that document. We continue to encourage public use of the golf course through different things. One of the conversations we had was around facility rentals. They've done a lot more in the last year or two with weddings and other events, and those are things that through this agreement we would encourage to get the public out to the facility. We also asked for increased insurance liability limits, which is, just a sign of the times kind of thing. And we actually share an agent with the Pebble Lake Golf Course, and our agent was comfortable with these new limits, and the city attorney's comfortable as well, so we made those changes. And then finally, really probably the big change is that previously Pebble Lake Golf Club was responsible for the first $5,000 every year for maintenance and repair at the course. They'll still be responsible for $5,000 under this agreement, but it wouldn't necessarily be the first $5,000. And the reason that that we're suggesting that change is that $5,000 usually comes real early in the year. And from a cash flow perspective, they really don't start bringing revenue in until the memberships are renewed and the golf season starts. So just from a cash flow standpoint for the club, it makes sense for the city to carry the bag a little bit until later on in the year when they have those funds to reimburse us the $5,000 for repairs and expenses. The rent due to the city under the contract remains at $100 per year. That's working just fine. And the last thing I'll say is it's been a good couple months working with the golf course, the board members that were appointed to the committee to work through this. The city attorney's been involved. Everybody feels good with the product, and look forward to another 5 successful years of operation out there. I don't know if I missed anything, Bill, if you have anything to add, otherwise we
I
can
think you-
answer any questions.
Kind of hit the high points, so.
Questions? Yes, Jim.
Not a question, just a comment. I think it's a good thing that you went through this whole thing this time. I think the last 2 or 3 times that we've renewed, they just changed the date and let it fly through. And we've got a good board there now that really went through it with the city, and I think it's a good contract.
I mean, I think the golf course has turned around. I mean, I think the input of the new board has really done a good job out there. So I'd make the motion that we accept the contract changes as presented.
Motion to bring this to the council.
I'll second, Your Honor.
Second. Thank you. Any further questions, comments? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries, and I believe sounds.
Consent agenda would be fine with me.
Consent agenda would be good. Thanks, Jim. All right, item number 4 is a update, or, I'm sorry, Center for the Arts agreement. And again, I'll call on Andrew Brumseth and Bill Sonmore.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members, maybe a echo of what I just said, but this agreement is also expiring at the end of the year. We've been working for several months with Michael Burgraff at the Center for the Arts and the city attorney, proposing a 5-year lease on this one as well, which would go till the end of 2023. This lease is for the space that's above the senior center on the second level. The Center for the Arts currently is using this and has for a number of years. And the contract specifies that it must be used for purposes of providing opportunities for people to participate in the creation, performance, or appreciation of artistic activities consistent with the Center for the Arts mission. And so what we see in there today is a lot of the dance studios in there. There's various voice lessons that are given up there. They use the space for rehearsals for the plays that they put on at the Center for the Arts. Really a good opportunity to partner with the Center for the Arts on this space. They did extensive renovations to get it into usable space the way it is today. They are responsible to cover a portion of the city utility bill as well as the gas bill associated with that, based on the footprint of that space up above in relation to the senior center. And the electric is metered separately, so they're covering 100% of the electricity that's associated with that. Any other costs that are incurred or anything that has to be fixed that's not necessarily related to the envelope of the building, they have been responsible for and have been good partners in fixing things as they need to be. The lease amount at this space is $10 per year. That'll remain unchanged under this proposal. And again, the city attorney worked real hard to simplify this agreement. I think we cut this one in half as well. And just want things to be user-friendly with the various groups that we partner with. So, Bill, did I miss anything on that one?
Nope, I think that's.
All right. Will I answer any questions? on that?
I'll just say that every time you go in that building, it's bustling with activity and young people and downtown. It's just a great thing. I have to ask, where do we come up with these rent amounts? This one's $10, the other one's $100.
That's you, Bill.
When they were originally drafted, that's what our city attorney put in. There was no rhyme or
You
reason
just
to.
forgot the zero on this one, or added a zero on the other, whatever. It
It's
doesn't-
probably, that's such a much bigger space out at the golf course, it's the
Yeah,
whole place
right.
than this one building, so. How's that for some rationale?
Roll one of those 20-sided dice.
Yeah, pretty much.
Any other questions? Offer the motion. Motion, thank you, Jim.
Second.
Thank you, Brent. All in favor of bringing this motion, recommendation to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries, and I believe that can be on the consent agenda as well. Thank you. Next, call on our city engineer, Brian Uvaro, with the traffic marking partnership.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Your Honor and members. Before you is council recommendations in regards to the City of Fergus Falls annual traffic marking agreement with Otter Tail County. We have done this for quite some time. We received good benefit by collaboratively entering into a traffic marking agreement with Otter Tail County. Based on this, in order to participate in the 2019 program, Otter Tail County requires a resolution be passed by the board to make this effective. So at this time, I'm requesting this council pass a resolution to accept Otter Tail County's partnership agreement for the annual traffic marking program.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions of our city engineer?
I make the motion that we
Thank you,
accept.
Anthony. Thank you, Tom. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you.
Consent.
Consent agenda, yes. We have a few additional items, so Brian, we'll go ahead and talk about Public Improvement 5954 if you're ready.
Thank you. Just want to give a project update in regards to a reconstruction project. It's Public Improvement 5954. It's a street and utility reconstruction that's generally located due south of Penny Park. If you look at the map here up on the screen, it's showing the project limits as it stands right now. Looking for reconstruction on Mount Faith Avenue, Highland Avenue, and Summit Avenue between Sheridan and Burlington. And then also Sheridan Avenue between Summit Avenue and Mount Faith, and a half block of Burlington located north of Summit Avenue. Last spring, the City Council authorized the procurement of property appraisals for the abutting properties associated with this project. In general, the appraisals were completed to provide assistance in regards to the cost-benefit reasonableness of the preliminary assessment rolls. Although this report has taken some time, it has been just received. I want to just please note that time was needed to select a qualified appraiser that was, number one, familiar with the Minnesota Statute 429 protocol, and in turn, the appraisers, once selected, needed time to become acclimated with the local market and have the ability to conduct thorough market research to do their work. This appraisal report will be incorporated into the complete final preliminary engineering report that is in draft form at this time. That will be presented to the council in the near future. However, is what I want to talk about is I'm recommending in addition to the appraisers that we're doing, recommending we do a neighborhood meeting with the abutting residents. This is not 429 protocol, however, it's an effective tool to engage the residents. An opportunity to become familiar with the project and ask any questions at what we're doing. Like I mentioned, it's not protocol, but a good tool to get feedback. It also affords the ability for residents that have face-to-face correspondence with the engineers. Some may, as you know, on a preliminary hearing and everything. Some might not be comfortable speaking at this podium and everything. So it gives them an opportunity that we can answer any and all questions. So therefore, we've tentatively scheduled a neighborhood meeting in this council chambers Tuesday, December 18th from 5 to 7 p.m. Mailed notices will be sent out to the abutting residents, informing them of this ability to come and meet with, I would anticipate myself will be present and our engineer from Moore Engineering to answer any and all questions. So from this, we'll incorporate some of that feedback too, also into the preliminary engineering report that will be presented to the City Council.
Thank you for that update, Brian. Thank you for, I think it's a good opportunity for the people in the neighborhood to reach out to them, be proactive, and let them be involved in the process. Any questions on this project? Jim?
I think that's a very good idea, bringing the people in. You hear afterwards all the time the complaints and everything. At this point, they're going to have a chance to come in and voice their concerns right away rather than after the fact. So I think it's a really good idea for all of our projects like that from now on to have those meetings.
I agree.
Those streets are.
Yeah, those streets are in bad shape.
It's time.
It is time. At this time, we attempted to, but with, doing the appraisals and everything, it did take some time to complete them and everything. But like I said, we're looking at our assessment policy and everything and just adding more tools in the toolbox for it.
We'll have some happy residents next year.
Thank you.
Generally a lot happier after the project's done and everything. There has been talk, I want to note too, there has been talk about adding an extension onto this project on Burlington. Burlington from Mount Faith to Randolph. We're working at the logistics and everything. With that, we may look to incorporate that into this project or do it for the following year. So that'll be coming up as well.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Brian.
We have two other, you want to take the fireworks?
I will. I'm expecting
Chief's
the
on his way.
Fire chief to walk in the door any second, but I'll just kick the conversation off. Generally, we have firework permits that go on the list of licenses that go before the city council. And as you all know, on Saturday evening, there's going to be a fireworks display associated with Over the River holiday event or Christmas event here in Fergus Falls. And They're still, as of like late in the evening yesterday, working out logistics associated with that, but we wanted to get it before the council, and we're going to be acting in that capacity on this if approved. But we're looking to get the permit approved this morning for the fireworks on Saturday. The location of the shoot site has been approved by the fire chief with the appropriate areas. As you can see, that little blue dot right in the middle of that light green circle, that's Wright Park. That would be the firing place of the fireworks. Those yellow circle areas would be approved spectator areas with enough distance to launch the fireworks from that area. A few things to note: we will have to be closing, and I'm looking at the chief and Guy, I know they were in meetings yesterday about this. If they have anything to add, please jump in, but we will have to close traffic down on Union Avenue when we're shooting off the fireworks that evening. It's not expected that the fireworks show is going to last a real long time, but you know, a few minutes or several minutes, that street will have to be closed down to have an adequate area for the pyrotechnics to shoot these off. So I don't know if there's any questions that come to mind. That's generally the request that the chief is going to be making. He has indicated to me several times that this meets the fire code and that he's comfortable with this site being the site of launch, or whatever the appropriate term is, and they will have a truck on standby nearby as well in case there are any things that go wrong. But today we're looking to approve the permit for this site, and that event takes place on Saturday.
What time is it?
About 6:30. 6:30. And I'll say that it's gone through the, you know, like Andrew said, the chief of police has been involved, public safety, and the fire chief. There's a state fire marshal that approves it. There's, you know, it goes to Lynn locally. So everything's gone through the proper channels. It's just there was a couple different locations that were going back and forth, and that's why the kind of the last minute, if you will. Tom?
So the Downtown Riverfront Council, they'll get this information so they can get the word out of where people should.
Yeah, I think that, I'll just comment, I think the viewing spots, there's gonna be people in the park. You see the green circle, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but that's the circle that people can't be in. So there'll be people, pedestrians downtown on the streets. So it's not just in those two yellow sites.
Exactly.
Right.
They can be in the south end of Wright Park, outside of that boundary. The other thing I will say is these areas indicated in yellow are private property, so as the city, we're not saying that that's where they should go or could go. That's just marking off potential
Vantage point.
areas.
So the idea is just south of the green is the tree. People will be there presumably to light the tree, and then the
So
fireworks.
people could line up on the sidewalk, you know, in front of Wells Fargo and like, okay.
And, okay, I'll make that motion that we accept the.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Justin. Any further?
And I think it's a good idea that they close down Union,
Yeah.
not only for having the people out, but if they're driving down there, people are gawking, looking at it, and looking where they're going. So
Speak
I
for
think
yourself,
that's a
Jim.
very good idea.
I always pay attention to the road.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of activity going on the first, and this is obviously the culmination, so it'd be a good finale.
Well, and having that closed too for pedestrian traffic after it gets done will be a lot.
Yeah.
And to just say thanks to, I know it's extra work for Public Works, when having it in this location, the closure of the streets, so thank you to Guy for being willing to do that, and for the team and everything. I know it's a little bit of a hassle, but thank you, Guy. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do we need a resolution to accept that, or is a motion fine?
Motion for a license.
Got it.
And this will be the acceptance of that, and it won't go to the council, obviously, so.
Okay, so you got everything you need. All right, perfect. So we have a charter commission update, but we'll do that Monday night presumably, because Joellen was going to give us that update. Correct?
All
Unless-
they wanted us
Oh.
to know is yesterday they had their last meeting. They finished a review of the charter, and they're gonna be bringing forward the proposed changes to the committee of the whole on December 12th.
Okay.
So we'll have a copy of that, but they just wanted to give you a heads up that they have completed their work.
Perfect. All right, I guess we got that update right there.
On that, would there be opportunity to get it
We'll have it in the
kind-
packet for December 12th.
but
if you
would we
wanna-
be able to get it before, kind of like the Thursday? Obviously, it's kind of probably lengthy, that's all. Or is there a lot of changes, or?
There's very few changes. The
Right, okay.
charter itself is only like 28 pages, and it's a nice red line version, so, yeah, we can get it to you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions on that? Couple announcements, again, we mentioned the December 1st Saturday with the fireworks, that's the Over the River holiday, hope everyone, it starts in the morning, there's music all day, there's something for everyone, it's free of charge, so, hope everyone in the community and hope all the council members are able to participate. Tom?
I will be giving pedicab rides from 3 to 4 p.m.
Well, there you go.
On your bike?
Not my bike, but a bicycle
Oh, nice.
cab.
You can come pick me up down on Summit?
Hey,
All right.
Down Union?
So hopefully everyone, it starts,
to the
you know,
dome.
shops will be open in the morning, there's gonna be vendors and music, so Saturday, December 1st, hopefully everyone can join us. And then Friday, November 30th at 6 PM, Governor-elect Tim Walz is doing a listening tour around the state, and he's gonna be in Fergus Falls, 6 PM Friday night, right here in the council chambers, so encourage the public, everyone's open, they're really focusing on listening to as many viewpoints as they can. They're working on commissioner level appointments, and they want to hear from people.
Sorry, what date was that? December?
November 30th, this
Thank you.
Friday, 2 days
Okay.
from now. So hopefully, be right here in the council chambers, and we're really looking forward to hosting the governor-elect. And with that, our next council meeting is, of course, Monday night. And City Development Task Force meetings at 4 o'clock on December 3rd, and with the council meeting at 5:30. Any other announcements? Lynn, do you have anything else? No? All right. With that, we're adjourned.
Tom, you're gonna look like